The more you listen, the more you'll know. It's Brian Kilmeade.
It's so incredible because if you had told me, a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, that there was something that the government could do to stop the absolute downward fall of these universities from grace, I wouldn't have believed you. But it turns out that if you simply say to them, no more money until you stop discriminating against a minority population on your campus, suddenly they get their act together and they acquiesce to the demands of the government.
It is kind of interesting. That's Batiar Sargon talking about what's happening with Princeton, Harvard, and Columbia. All their money is put on pause. We know the University of Pennsylvania, $175 million, because they will not stop trans men from being in women's sports. Joining us now is Michael Wilds, managing partner in Wilds and Weinberg, adjunct professor at Benjamin N. Cardozo School of Law, and former federal prosecutor. Michael, your thoughts about some of the crackdown on the colleges, I guess personally, because I know anti-Semitism really matters to you to fight against it. And number two, on the deportation of some of these international students.
Thank you so much, Brian, for having me. I don't know if you were listening right before you came back from commercial. You had a clip of John Lennon when he got his green card. It was my late father, my sainted father, I should say, who handled John's green card case.
Family friend,
so
right?
I don't know if that was cued purposefully to introduce me. So
no, that runs on a loop, and I see him over your right shoulder. But Michael, in particular, are you heartened by the crackdown on the anti-Semitism?
So first of all, there isn't a Jew that isn't appreciative of the kind of support that we're now getting. Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. You're scared if you're on a campus and somebody's taking your mug and dove it off of you. They're barring you from going into classrooms. They're intimidating people who are not comfortable wearing their kippas, their yarmulkes. It is a very heartening experience to know that there is support and that there is enforcement. It was unacceptable that I'm a mayor myself in New Jersey, Englewood, where I live, or a governor would not have stepped in. If it was other ethnicities, no doubt they would have stepped in. When the mayor and the governor didn't step in and the president did, it was very heartening. And again, I'm saying this because what's really actionable here, Brian, is the conduct, not the speech. If somebody wrote an op-ed and then got deported because of their thought, that would be actionable. But a person who is warping the First Amendment, if you would, locking people in a room, dealing with security and safety, and putting out content that is supporting a terrorist organization, giving it support, that runs into that old Chaplinsky versus New Hampshire, those fighting words doctrine. You don't have an absolute right to speak. You can't go into a movie theater and start screaming fire. You have the right to express yourself in your politic, but you can't physically cause harm to other people. It's the conduct that was actionable in those cases.
So let's talk about Mahmoud Khalil. He is the guy that was at the head of this organization, these Palestinian groups. I interviewed a lawyer yesterday, Mark Goldfeder, who says he's representing some of the hostage families, and they have direct links between these Palestinian groups on campus and the Hamas hostage holders and the Hamas organization. I mean, they got to go, right? I mean, do you have to prove that in court?
They're paying them. These are professional rabble-rousers that are living on campus, and they've already graduated. Why are they there? If their politic is something that they're being paid for, okay, express yourself, write something. Do not physically take action to bar people from classes or intimidate or incite a riot. Right. That, to me, is crossing a line. The president, to his credit, recognized it and put an end to it by pulling out the oxygen, the financial strings.
So I want you to hear what Marco Rubio said and tell me if that is enough for these students to be expelled. Listen.
It might be more than 300 at this point. We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa.
You're saying it could be more than 300
sure,
visas?
I hope. At some point, I hope we run out because we've gotten rid of all of them. But we're looking every day for these lunatics that are tearing things up.
And then he says they didn't come to, I didn't give them visas to come to this country to create uproar. They're here to study, not protest against us. Now tell us I mean, that's how I feel. But you're the lawyer.
Right.
If you
So-
represented some of these students and they're creating unrest, but they're not physically hurting people, they're coming out against Gaza and against Israel, but they're not hurting people, can I still throw them out if I'm Marco Rubio?
So a few things. First of all, the legal matrix that we're in. A student comes to America, they have an unrelinquished domicile that they're going to. If they eventually go through the visa system, get a green card, at any point, their actions, if it's in contradiction under that provision of law with our nation's security and policies, you do have a diminished expectation of rights. Even until you have the golden grail of a passport in your hand, you can be removed. I'm going to give you another anecdote and story. I'm the mayor of Englewood, New Jersey. We had 5 Kuwaiti students who saw a guy with a yarmulke who has a local pizza store sitting on a terrace and started berating and threatening his life. Not only did we have them prosecuted under state bias crimes, but we had Homeland Security pull their ticket. This was a year ago, more than a year ago. Why? Because you can't come to America and conduct yourself that way. You can express your freedom, your right to speak. The Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, gives all persons, doesn't say a visitor's visa or a citizen has greater rights. Yes, you can express yourself. It's your conduct that's actionable. And if you are giving financial aid and support, aiding and abetting a terrorist organization, I would argue that that's criminal, and those students should be prosecuted criminally if they can make a case.
Michael,
what I don't like is the visual. Forgive me, Brian. What I don't like is the visual that there's no due process. Maybe they don't want to expose methods and procedures, but I think the more support of terrorist organizations that they can establish, the more that, again, we didn't like the visual in the bar that is, where people, just because they had a tattoo, may be going to these terrible jails in El Salvador if it was expressive of autism and other important causes. So the important thing is to make exemplars or examples to show that there is a system in place to give people a proper day in court.
Right. It's an interesting time. Real quick, do you think these Ivy League schools, 20 seconds, will get the message?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, the fact is there was a vacuum. Nobody cared to give the message. You said it artfully before this segment. Why, when it comes to Jews, can they get away with this and they can't with any other group?
Michael Wiles, you're the best. Thanks so much.